What's going on, guys? Beautiful day here at the jetties, and we have a special video for y'all. You read the title? You already know what it's about. How to catch redfish at the jetties. In this video, we're going to go over everything you need to know to take pictures like these, have a nice chest like this, and be successful this fall at the jetties. The number one thing you're going to need, and what this whole video is going to revolve around, is live finger mullet. That is the key to being successful here this fall at the jetties. To obtain finger mullet, you can buy them at the bait store, or better yet, get yourself a cast net, learn how to throw it, catch your own finger mullet, and get fresh, lively bait. Then keep your mullet in a live well. I like to use a bucket with 2 aerators. Now let's go over the rigs to use while fishing with live finger mullet. The 3 rigs we use are the Carolina rig, 3-way rig, and any float rig. The Carolina rig is super simple. You have a hook, leader, and sliding weight on your main line. The 3-way rig is composed of a 3-way swivel. One eyelet has your leader and hook attached, another eyelet for your weight, and the third eyelet attaches your main line to the leader. The float rig can be a slip cork, lemon rig, popping cork, whatever you want. Now we'll discuss the terminal tackle for your fishing rigs. For weight size, you can use as light a weight as you can get away with, or as heavy as weight as you want, as long as the weight stays on the bottom. So anywhere between ½ ounce to 3 to 4 ounces should be fine. We usually use 1 to 2 ounces on the Carolina rig and a 1 to 4 ounce weight on the 3-way rigs. As far as the leaders go, I recommend using at least 30-pound mono. These redfish aren't leader shy here in the fall. If you want to go heavier like we usually do, we usually use 80 to 100-pound mono. That is for several reasons. 1, the rocks here are sharp. 2, there are still toothy critters out there, kingfish, Spanish, bluefish, that will cut you off. And 3, when you're landing the fish, it's a lot easier to grab onto that 80, 100-pound mono, get a wrap around your hand, and lift that redfish right onto the rocks. Now for hook selection, we like to use 2 different hooks depending on how we're fishing. If you're going to cast out and hold the rod in your hand, I like to use a 3/0 kale hook, live bait hook, croaker hook, whatever you want to call it. You can use whatever brand you like. We like to use Eagle Claw laser sharp hooks. I like the 3/0 because it's a very versatile size. For the smaller finger mullet, those 3-inchers, it still works well. And for the larger finger mullet, the 5-inchers, the hook still works really well. A 3/0 hook is plenty strong. We've lifted 10, 12-pound redfish straight up onto the rocks with that 3/0 hook. If we are going to cast out and set our rods in a rod holder, I like to use a circle hook. Usually a 4 to 5/0 circle, depending on the size of the mullet. These setups are super simple. You can use whatever you prefer, guys. If there's a lot of toothy critters out there when you're out fishing, go ahead, use a cable or wire leader. These redfish are not leader shy. We've caught plenty of them on wire, plenty of them on cable. Heck, we've even caught them on 400-pound mono. Now let's discuss the third rig, any float rig, lemon rig, popping cork, whatever you like. This is my favorite rig because you can cast out, and with the current, the float drifts. You can cover a lot of ground and find where the fish are. The downside to the float rig is that the float drifts. So if you have a strong current and it's bumper to bumper, you know, elbow to elbow with people here at the jetties, you're going to be having to reel in, cast out, reel in and cast out, reel in and cast out, because the float is going to drift with the current. And if you don't reel in, people are going to cross your line, you're going to cross people's lines. It's just a whole headache. The float is really hard to fish when it is crowded and there's a lot of current. The time your bait isn't in the water, you're not fishing, you're not catching fish. I recommend the float rig when there's not a lot of people around. The float is very effective when you can use it. Now if you got your bait, you got your rig, let's discuss how to hook your live finger mullet. There are 2 ways I like to hook the mullet when fishing on the bottom. First is hook the mullet in the head. Go from the bottom and push the hook through the skull just in front of the eyes. You want to hit the skull so the mullet stays on the hook, but not too deep. You hit the brain and kill your mullet. I like to hook the mullet in the head when fishing in a lot of current, because if the mullet's hooked any other way in a lot of current, the mullet will drown being pushed against the current instead of being able to swim with the current when hooked in the head. The second way I like to hook them, when there isn't a lot of current, and this will help the bait stay alive longer, hook the mullet right above the anal fin and below the spine, right about here. What this allows the fish to do is it can swim up, it can swim around, and it will stay alive longer. A lot of times there are other smaller bait fish that will kill your mullet. They will peck out the eyes, they'll peck out the gills, etc., etc. So when it's calm, I like to let the mullet swim up and off the bottom, keeping him away from those other pesky fish that will kill your live mullet. The third way to hook your mullet. When using a float rig, just hook the mullet through the back. See that dorsal fin? Hook them right in front of the dorsal. This way, the mullet will swim upright. Practice hooking the mullet through the head. Just get a dead mullet. You will feel when you hit the mullet skull and pass through. If you don't hook the mullet far enough and get into the skull, you will just be hooking the mullet on the lips, and the hook can easily rip out. When you cast your mullet, it's going to fly off. Now that you got your rigs and your mullet hooked, all you got to do is cast out and wait for a bite. Note, you will feel some small taps, light little taps. That is just your mullet swimming around. A lot of new people that are new to fishing bait will think they're getting a bite. And like, oh, I'm getting a bite, and they'll yank on it. And like, oh, he got off. No, that is just the mullet. You're not getting a bite from a redfish. When a red hits it, the red is going to thump it. Reds are very rarely light hitters. They're going to thump it. You're going to know it. They're going to pick up the bait and engulf it. The red will thump it and swim off. As soon as they thump it, reel in the slack. If you feel the weight of the fish, boom, hook them. Normally, I do not wait for the redfish to swallow the bait, because if you've seen them feed, especially when they're feeding aggressively on mullet, they're going to engulf that mullet. The mullet is already going to be in their mouth. Just reel down. Is the fish still there? Yank, set the hook on them. If you wait too long, the fish is just going to get gut hooked, and a lot of times there are bull reds mixed in with these slot reds. You do not want to gut hook a bull red. Now let's go over the rods and reels I recommend you use. Now you can use as light a setup as you want, as heavy as you want. These are just what I recommend that will give you the best chance at success when fishing for redfish with live mullet. As far as reels go, use a reel that has a line capacity of at least 150 yards of line, or whatever line you're going to be using. Now you do not need 150 yards of line to catch slot reds. But there's not just slot reds out there. There's bull reds, kingfish, jacks, and tarpon. And they will hit your mullet. So having that extra line will at least give you a fighting chance at landing those bigger fish when they hit. Also, the rocks are your worst enemy. You're going to lose line from getting snagged on the rocks, from getting cut off on the rocks, from nixing your line. So at least when you have 150 yards of line, you can lose line and still have enough left on your reel to still fish. Speaking of line, I recommend using at least 15-pound mono, if not 20. As far as braid goes, at least 20-pound braid, if not 30. Now, the reason for the high test lines is not necessarily for the increased tensile strength. It's more for abrasion resistance, because the rocks here, again, are your worst enemy when fighting fish here and fishing here. For fishing rods, you're going to want a rod that's 7 foot, if not more. A longer rod just helps you maneuvering around the rocks when you're fighting a fish. As far as inshore saltwater rods go, you're going to want something around a medium heavy to heavy power, and a fast action, mod fast action should get the job done. Basically, get a rod that's going to be rated for the weights that you're going to be throwing. If you're going to use a low profile reel, pretty much any low profile reel will do. Just spool it up with braid and you should be good to go. We usually use 200 size Curados, do the job just fine. The round reels we like to use are the Made in Sweden Ambassadors, anywhere between a 5,000 to a 7,000 size. It's got plenty of torque to handle those bigger fish. If you do encounter a kingfish, jack, or bull red, it'll get the job done. Now, you don't have to use an Abu Garcia. This just any round reel in that size around those specs should get the job done. Like, for example, we also like to use Penn International 975s. That's roughly the same size as a 7,000 Ambassador or a 700 Shimano Calcutta. Well, guys, we've covered everything you need to know to be successful here this fall and catch you a bunch of redfish. So if you like the video, go ahead and give it a like. If you got a comment, drop it down in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe to get notified when more videos like this come out. Oh, and also, jack 'em up. Y'all have a great day.